Bubba Wallace has come under a lot of criticism ever since the last regular season race in Darlington. Wallace failed to qualify for the playoffs, and Denny Hamlin is not entirely happy about that. The 2311 team will now have to head into the playoffs with only one car. Just days after the race, Hamlin made a shocking comment about Bubba Wallace that has put him in the hot seat. Throughout the season, Bubba Wallace has been struggling to find performance on a more consistent basis. His first half of the season was especially bad. The second half was comparatively better, but was still not enough to put the number 23 car into the playoffs. One could think that the problem is with the 2311 team and that they're not able to find the right setup for their Toyota. But this is certainly not the case. Bubba's teammate Tyler Reddick has managed to not just qualify for the playoffs, but also win the regular season championship. He will now head into the playoffs with an advantage over his head. Talking with Denny Hamlin during the Actions Detrimental podcast, co-host Jared Allen asked the 2311 Racing co-owner if the race's outcome would have been different had Bubba Wallace pitted for new tires by lap 337. In response, Hamlin said, "Nothing. No. Because I still don't think he was going to win the race. The way it turned out, with Briscoe winning, he was going to have to win. Kyle Busch was the first car to take tires on that caution, and he had a shot to win at the end. Bubba wasn't ahead of Kyle at that time. Kyle was going to come out in front of him regardless." Highlighting the reasons behind Wallace's result at Darlington, the Joe Gibbs Racing driver went on to say, "Yeah, ifs and buts. I think it would have been very difficult. It seemed like, for whatever reason, they just lost a little pace. Once they lost the track position, the 23 seemed like they were kind of hanging on the rest of the day. When I say hanging on, they were in the top 10 still, but I didn't think they had the pace that the number 5, the number 14, and number 11, some of the others had. Track position wouldn't have helped." During the race, Bubba was caught in the middle of a pileup that was caused by Josh Berry. However, Hamlin feels that even if this pileup had not occurred, Wallace would not have been able to get into the playoffs as he simply did not have the pace through the race. But we have enough pace to attract some of the best NASCAR fans, so hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Even Michael Jordan, the 2311 Racing team's co-owner, felt disappointed with Bubba after he failed to qualify for the playoffs. Here's what he said. "You know, for Bubba, he's got to keep getting better. He's going to use these next races to try to get a win and do the best he can. But, you know, we can't stay complacent. We're going to keep getting better." After hearing this response, the interviewer told Jordan that on TV, the latter seemed terrified. This was followed up with a question asking how the NBA star felt now. "I'm still disappointed, obviously," said Jordan. Given Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin's recent statement on Bubba Wallace's performance this season, there has been doubt over Wallace's future with 2311 Racing. Bubba has been part of the team since its inception in 2021. He has been piloting the number 23 car since then. The number 23 is the jersey number Michael Jordan wore while famously playing for the Chicago Bulls, with whom he won 6 NBA championships. A year after the team made its debut, 2311 Racing decided to bring in a charter along with Tyler Reddick to pilot it. Now that Tyler Reddick is proving that the team has a lot more potential than Bubba Wallace has shown, Hamlin and Jordan could start to look at their options. However, as of now, Wallace will stay. He has a contract to drive for the team until the end of the 2025 season. Ideally, Wallace would prefer to stay on for longer, but in order for that to happen, he will have to prove himself in the remaining races this year and next year. Bubba Wallace's performance in Darlington did not meet the team's expectations. The weekend was actually off to a good start for Wallace as he qualified on pole. He and the team were hoping to convert that pole into a race win on Sunday, but Wallace simply didn't have the pace. After the race, Wallace said, "We just got behind on adjustments," lamented Wallace. "We were back and forth on our Toyota Camry, just a little too loose, a little too tight. And that caution with a couple laps on tires where we stayed out. I don't know if that was the deciding factor, but we just got so tight there, and got back there in traffic and in a spot we hadn't been all day, and got caught up in someone else's mess. It's unfortunate. I hate it for our guys. Hats off to the 14. I thought I did something yesterday. They one-upped us and showed up when it was game time. So that's pretty badass, so congrats to them. Man, just wasn't good enough for 16th this year. I hate that. It stinks saying that. But it wasn't for a lack of effort from all of us here on the 23 car. Best of luck to the 45, Tyler Reddick, and hopefully a Toyota wins. After a disappointing performance this season, Wallace had to settle for 18th place on the table. But Wallace still has 10 more races this season where he could turn things around. Although it won't help his progress in the season, it could help prove to Hamlin and Jordan that he is worth keeping around. Hamlin still seems to have some hope for Wallace after failing to qualify for the playoffs. Here's what he said. If they run next year like they've run in the last 10 to 12 races, they're going to be in the playoffs, no sweat. So I think my message to them is, stay on the track that you're at, and sometimes you gotta walk before you run. Hamlin thinks that if Wallace is able to keep his positive momentum going, he could be in for a strong season next year. There is also a chance for 23XI Racing to have 3 charters next year. They have openly expressed interest in purchasing another charter for the 2025 season. However, Hamlin wants to wait until a new charter agreement is finalized between the teams and NASCAR. But if 23XI has another charter, Wallace will have more pressure to perform as his results will be compared to 2 drivers, including Reddick. Given that 2025 will be Bubba's final year of his contract with 23XI Racing, he will need to do everything possible to get into the playoffs and maybe even win the championship. His teammate Tyler Reddick, who also won the regular season championship, sympathized with Wallace. It's tough. I've been in his spot. It's not fun to be that close and just miss it, man. It's tough to go back and look. You can pick apart the races each weekend. We gave up points here or there. It's a tough thing. For them, if they just go through the rest of this, focus on continuing to improve that consistency, they'll be better off for next year. At the end of the day, though, there's just some things you can't control, man. I feel like a lot of times this year, they've been right in the middle of stuff happening on the racetrack. A lot of times this year, I don't know how to explain it. When things have happened on the racetrack, I've missed it and been able to benefit from it. They have a great opportunity here over the rest of this year to reload and be ready to go for next time. It was completely mixed emotions for the team. On the one hand, you have a driver who just won the regular season title, but on the other, you have one who wasn't able to make it to the playoffs. This missed playoff spot for Wallace would have probably cost the team $1 million or so. There's no doubt that he was very close to getting that spot. Given that he was so close to getting into the playoffs, he will do everything possible to do so next year. But if he doesn't, he could be out of the team. Do you think Bubba Wallace should remain with the team for longer? Post your thoughts in the comments section below.